You went to bed precisely at 10 o'clock last night. You turned off your smartphone, you pulled the heavy curtains shut, and you closed your eyes for 8 consecutive uninterrupted hours. By all the rules of modern health advice, you should wake up the next morning feeling absolutely invincible, ready to conquer the world with boundless energy. But instead, when that morning alarm goes off, it feels like a heavy physical blow to your entire system. Your eyelids feel like they are weighted down with lead weights, your limbs feel sluggish and unresponsive, and your mind is trapped in a thick, unyielding fog that even a double shot of espresso cannot seem to cut through. You find yourself dragging your feet through the morning, counting down the long hours until lunch, and secretly wondering what on earth is wrong with your body. You ask yourself the same frustrating question every single day. Why am I still so completely exhausted when I'm doing everything right on paper? It is a deeply demoralizing experience, and I hear it from frustrated patients in my clinic every single week. Today, we are going to peel back the layers of this medical mystery and explore the hidden biological reasons why you are trapped in a state of chronic, unending fatigue despite getting a full night of rest. My name is Dr. Mark, and as an endocrinologist and metabolic specialist, my entire career is dedicated to studying how the human body generates, regulates, and distributes internal energy. What most people do not realize is that sleep is not a simple game of math. It is not an equation where entering 8 hours of mattress time automatically equals 100% of physical battery life the next day. Energy production is a complex, delicate symphony involving your hormones, your brain chemistry, your cellular engines, and your daily lifestyle rhythms. When that symphony goes out of tune, you can sleep for 9, 10, or even 12 hours and still wake up feeling as though you haven't slept a single wink. We are going to step away from the basic, generic advice you have heard 1,000 times before and dive deep into the actual science of cellular exhaustion. We will examine the microscopic disruptors that are actively sabotaging your sleep quality from the shadows, the hormonal imbalances that pull the plug on your daily stamina, and the surprising daily habits that are draining your fuel tank before you even step out of bed. To truly understand why you are always tired, we must first shatter a massive societal myth: the illusion of sleep quantity versus sleep quality. Imagine your body as a high-performance smartphone. Plugging that phone into a broken, fraying charging cable for 8 hours will not result in a fully charged battery. You might wake up to find the screen flashing a miserable 15% because the actual current flowing into the device was weak and inconsistent. In the exact same way, your body requires deep, high-voltage sleep architectural phases to actually repair your muscles, flush out metabolic waste from your brain, and balance your emotional hormones. A normal, healthy human sleep cycle is composed of distinct stages that repeat every 90 minutes, moving from light sleep into deep, slow-wave sleep, and finally into rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. The deep, slow-wave stage is where your body performs physical restoration, tissue repair, and growth hormone release. The REM stage is where your brain processes emotions and solidifies memories. If your night is constantly fragmented by micro-arousals, tiny half-second awakenings that you do not even consciously remember the next morning, your brain is repeatedly kicked out of these deep, restorative stages back into light sleep. You might think you slept for a solid 8 hours, but in reality, your cellular engine was constantly being turned on and off throughout the night, leaving you completely uncharged. One of the most aggressive, silent assassins of sleep quality is a widespread phenomenon known as corporate sleep fragmentation, driven almost entirely by late-night blue light exposure. Look around your bedroom right before you close your eyes. Is there a television glowing on the wall? Is your smartphone sitting inches from your face as you scroll through social media feeds? Your eyes contain specialized receptor cells called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells do not help you see shapes or colors. Instead, their sole responsibility is to detect the presence of specific wavelengths of blue light, which naturally occur in abundance during a bright, sunny afternoon. When these cells detect blue light, they send an immediate, high-priority electrical signal to a tiny region in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which acts as your master biological clock. This signal effectively tells your brain that it is high noon, completely halting the production of melatonin, the vital hormone responsible for signaling your body that it is time to rest and repair. When you scroll through your phone in the dark, you are artificially tricking your brain into believing the sun is shining. Even if you manage to fall asleep right after putting your phone away, your melatonin levels remain suppressed for hours, preventing your brain from sliding into that deep, slow-wave sleep phase. You are essentially forced to spend the night in a state of shallow, superficial rest, ensuring a groggy morning. Another hidden saboteur that completely ruins your sleep architecture happens right at your dinner table. Many people enjoy eating a heavy, rich dinner late in the evening, or perhaps indulging in a midnight snack to comfort themselves after a stressful day. While a full stomach can certainly make you feel drowsy and ready to doze off, it creates a massive internal conflict inside your body. Digestion is a highly intensive physical process that requires a tremendous amount of metabolic energy, blood flow, and muscular contraction. When you consume a substantial meal within 3 hours of going to sleep, your gastrointestinal tract is forced to work overtime right when it should be winding down. This keeps your core body temperature elevated. To enter the deepest, most restorative stages of sleep, your core body temperature must actually drop by about 2 full degrees Fahrenheit. When your stomach is actively churning food, your internal thermostat remains high, keeping your nervous system in a state of low-grade alertness. Furthermore, lying flat with a full stomach often causes silent acid reflux, where stomach acid creeps up into your esophagus. You might not wake up coughing, but these micro-irritations trigger those hidden micro-arousals we discussed earlier, fracturing your sleep architecture and leaving you feeling deeply exhausted by dawn. We cannot talk about chronic fatigue without addressing the world's most popular psychoactive drug, caffeine. Now, I am not here to tell you to give up your beloved morning coffee, but we must understand the actual biochemistry of how caffeine interacts with your nervous system. Throughout the day, as your brain burns energy, it naturally accumulates a metabolic byproduct called adenosine. Think of adenosine as your body's natural sleep pressure gauge. The longer you are awake, the more adenosine builds up in your brain, binding to specific receptors that make you feel progressively sleepier as the night approaches. This is a healthy, beautiful process designed to guarantee deep rest. However, caffeine is a brilliant molecular imposter. It has a chemical structure that perfectly mirrors adenosine, allowing it to swoop in and fit snugly into those same brain receptors, effectively blocking the real adenosine from doing its job. Your brain no longer feels the natural sleep pressure, making you feel alert and awake. But here's the catch. That adenosine does not disappear. It continues to pile up outside the blocked receptors like a massive traffic jam. Caffeine has a surprisingly long half-life of around 6 hours, meaning if you have a cup of coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still actively circulating in your brain at 10 o'clock at night. When the caffeine finally detaches from the receptors, all that accumulated adenosine rushes in all at once, creating a catastrophic energy crash. Even worse, if you sleep with caffeine still in your system, it actively blocks your ability to reach deep, slow-wave sleep, meaning you wake up the next day with an even greater deficit, forcing you to drink even more caffeine to survive. Let us transition from sleep mechanics into my absolute specialty as an endocrinologist: the invisible internal chemical balance of your hormones. The primary driver of chronic fatigue that completely bypasses the 8-hour sleep rule is a profound imbalance in your adrenal health, specifically involving a vital hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is commonly labeled as the body's primary stress hormone, but it is actually much more than that. It is the fundamental conductor of your daily energy rhythms. In a healthy body, cortisol follows a strict, predictable 24-hour curve known as the diurnal rhythm. When you open your eyes in the morning, your brain should trigger a massive surge of cortisol, creating a natural awakening response that gives you focus, drive, and physical alertness. As the day progresses, this cortisol level should gently slope downward, reaching its lowest point around midnight to allow for restful sleep. However, in our modern, high-stress society, many individuals suffer from a completely flattened or inverted cortisol curve. When you are exposed to chronic, unrelenting mental stress, whether from a demanding job, financial worries, or personal relationship anxieties, your adrenal glands are constantly overstimulated. Over time, your morning cortisol spike completely disappears. You wake up with flatlined cortisol, leaving you feeling profoundly exhausted, heavy, and unmotivated even after 8 hours of sleep. Ironically, your cortisol might spike late at night, making you feel wired and anxious right when you need to sleep, creating an exhausting cycle of being tired all day and awake all night. We must also cast a bright scientific spotlight on another vital endocrine organ tucked neatly into the front of your neck, the thyroid gland. Your thyroid is essentially the master cellular thermostat of your entire body. It produces thyroid hormones, primarily thyroxine and triiodothyronine, which travel through your bloodstream to every single cell in your anatomy, dictating exactly how fast those cells should convert nutrients into usable energy. When your thyroid gland becomes underactive, a highly common medical condition known as hypothyroidism, the production of these vital hormones drops below optimal levels. As a result, your entire metabolism slows down to a sluggish crawl. Your cells cannot efficiently burn fuel, your heart rate slows, your body temperature drops, and your brain slows down. A primary hallmark of hypothyroidism is an intense, unyielding fatigue that is completely unaffected by sleep duration. You can sleep for 10 hours, but because your cellular engines are starved of the thyroid stimulation required to produce energy, you will still wake up feeling completely drained, cold, and mentally sluggish. If your fatigue is accompanied by unexplained weight gain, brittle hair, dry skin, and a constant feeling of being cold, your underactive thyroid is the clear suspect behind your empty fuel tank. Beyond hormones, there is a fundamental nutritional deficiency that affects millions of people across the globe, quietly draining their physical stamina from behind the scenes. I'm talking about a severe lack of cellular iron, a condition that leads to a state called iron deficiency anemia. To understand why a lack of iron makes you so incredibly tired, we have to look at how your body transports oxygen. Your red blood cells contain a highly specialized protein called hemoglobin, and iron is the primary building block needed to manufacture this protein. Hemoglobin acts like a microscopic delivery truck, loading up with oxygen in your lungs and driving it through your blood vessels to drop it off at your muscles, your brain, and your vital organs. Your cells need that oxygen to perform cellular respiration, the process that generates adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, which is the literal currency of human energy. If your iron levels are low, your body cannot produce enough functional hemoglobin. Your delivery trucks are empty. Even if you sleep perfectly for 8 hours, your brain and muscles are essentially suffocating on a microscopic level throughout the entire day due to a lack of oxygen. This manifests as a profound, heavy physical exhaustion, dizziness upon standing, and a complete lack of endurance during simple physical tasks. At the exact same time, we must examine a vital, fat-soluble nutrient that functions more like a master hormone than a basic vitamin: vitamin D. For many decades, people believed that vitamin D was only important for building strong, healthy bones. However, modern scientific research has revealed that almost every single tissue and cell type in your body contains specific receptors for vitamin D, including your muscles, your brain, and your immune cells. Vitamin D plays a critical role in optimizing the function of your mitochondria, which are the microscopic power plants located inside your cells, responsible for generating over 90% of your body's energy. When you have a chronic deficiency in vitamin D, which is incredibly common today because we spend the vast majority of our lives working indoors under artificial lighting, your mitochondria begin to struggle. They lose their structural efficiency and fail to produce optimal amounts of ATP energy. This creates a state of systemic, generalized fatigue that blankets your entire day. No matter how many hours you spend resting on a mattress, if your mitochondria lack the essential vitamin D required to fire on all cylinders, your body simply cannot generate the baseline power needed to make you feel awake, alert, and vibrant. Let us pivot to another highly prevalent yet frequently undiagnosed medical condition that destroys sleep quality from the inside out: obstructive sleep apnea. This is a structural condition where the soft tissues in the back of your throat completely relax and collapse during sleep, physically blocking your airway and cutting off your supply of oxygen for anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds at a time. When your airway closes, your blood oxygen levels plummet rapidly, sending an immediate panic signal to your brain. Your brain realizes it is suffocating, enters a state of high fight or flight alert, and jolts you out of deep sleep with a sudden spike of adrenaline so that you can gasp for air. These episodes can happen 30, 50, or even 100 times every single hour of the night. Here's the terrifying part. You will likely not remember a single one of these awakenings because they last for only a fraction of a second. You wake up the next morning thinking you had a long, peaceful 8-hour sleep, but in absolute reality, your body spent the entire night fighting a brutal, exhausting battle for basic survival against suffocation. Your cardiovascular system was under immense stress, your heart rate was spiking, and your brain was completely blocked from experiencing any meaningful deep or REM sleep. If you are a chronic snorer, if you frequently wake up with a completely dry mouth or a morning headache, sleep apnea may be the primary reason you are trapped in chronic exhaustion. Now let us look at a daily habit that seems entirely unrelated to sleep, but has a profound impact on your energy levels: your daily hydration status. The human body is composed of roughly 60% water, and your brain tissue is closer to 75% water. Every single chemical reaction that takes place within your anatomy, including the enzymes responsible for breaking down food and converting it into physical stamina, requires a precise water balance to function. When you are even slightly dehydrated, say a mere 1 to 2% drop in your body's optimal fluid levels, your blood volume actively decreases. This means your blood becomes thicker and more viscous, making it significantly harder for your heart to pump that blood through your circulatory system. Your heart has to beat faster and exert much more physical effort just to deliver oxygen and nutrients to your tissues. Your brain has to work harder to maintain cognitive focus. Many people wake up in the morning and immediately reach for a large cup of dehydrating coffee, completely ignoring the fact that they have just spent 8 hours losing moisture through their breath and sweat. This low-grade chronic dehydration drags your entire system down into a sluggish swamp, making you feel profoundly weary and heavy, even though your sleep duration was completely adequate. We must also investigate the profound, bidirectional connection between your mental health and your daily physical energy, specifically focusing on the biological realities of chronic anxiety and clinical depression. In our society, we often treat mental health as something that exists solely within our thoughts, completely separate from our physical bodies. But biochemistry does not work that way. Chronic anxiety keeps your sympathetic nervous system permanently locked in a high-alert fight-or-flight state. Your body is constantly flooded with norepinephrine and adrenaline, preparing you to run from a physical predator. This high-stress state burns through your cellular energy stores at an incredibly rapid pace. It is the metabolic equivalent of leaving your car engine idling at redline for 12 hours straight while parked in a garage. By the time you go to bed, your body is completely spent, but that lingering nervous system activation prevents you from accessing restorative deep sleep. Conversely, clinical depression alters the precise balance of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine in your brain, which are directly responsible for regulating motivation, joy, and physical vitality. When these chemicals are depleted, a primary physical symptom is a heavy, unyielding lethargy that sleep cannot fix. You are not just tired in your mind, your cells are physically lacking the neurochemical signals required to create the feeling of vitality. Finally, we must look at the hidden impact of modern dietary habits, specifically the phenomenon of blood sugar volatility, driven by a diet rich in refined carbohydrates and hidden sugars. When you consume foods that cause a rapid spike in your blood glucose levels, such as sweet breakfast pastries, white bread, or sugary coffee drinks, your body responds by releasing a massive wave of insulin to clear that sugar out of your bloodstream. This often causes a severe overcorrection known as reactive hypoglycemia, where your blood sugar crashes down to a dangerously low level within 2 hours of eating. Your brain, which relies on a steady, stable stream of glucose to function, suddenly finds itself starved of its primary energy source. This triggers an immediate, overwhelming wave of fatigue, brain fog, and a desperate craving for more sugar to fix the drop. If you spend your entire day eating foods that keep you on this volatile blood sugar roller coaster, you will experience a continuous series of energy crashes that leave you feeling utterly exhausted by the evening. No matter how well you slept the night before, your daily fuel intake is actively causing your system to stall out every few hours. Look at the incredible complexity of what we have just uncovered. Chronic fatigue is not a sign of personal weakness, a lack of willpower, or a simple failure to sleep long enough. It is a brilliant, loud distress signal being sent from the deepest levels of your biology. Your body is trying to tell you that something in its internal environment is profoundly out of balance. Whether it is a silent sleep saboteur like blue light and late-night meals, an underlying hormonal shift in your thyroid or cortisol rhythms, a hidden nutritional deficiency in iron or vitamin D, a structural issue like sleep apnea, or simple chronic dehydration, the 8-hour rule cannot save you if the foundation of your health is fractured. If you are tired of living your life in a perpetual fog, dragging yourself through every single afternoon on pure survival instinct, it is time to stop guessing and start listening to your biology. Investigate your sleep quality, test your hormone levels, optimize your nutrition, and balance your daily lifestyle habits. You have the power to repair your cellular engine, reclaim your natural vitality, and finally wake up feeling truly alive. The tools are in your hands, and your body is ready to transform.